Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have another fun anti-haul video to share with you guys. So this is just the second time I've done an anti-haul. The first one I will link above in case you missed it. The first one that I did was just basically all Sephora products. Since I work at Sephora, that's kind of where I began with all the products that we carry in store that I was not interested in picking up. This time around I have mostly Ulta products, but a few other things kind of sprinkled in there. So that's what we're going to be talking about this time. But before we get into it, of course, in case you're not familiar with what an anti-haul is, basically what we're going to be going through today is just kind of like my anti-wish list. So anything that is like a new released item that I'm just not interested in picking up, and I'm going to explain to you guys my reasons behind not wanting to get it. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that all these products are bad products. There's just products that I'm not interested in. I'm going to tell you guys why I'm not interested in them. So if there are things that you've purchased or are planning to purchase, it's not that I'm saying you should not buy them. I'm just saying that these are things that I don't want. I think it's a really good video idea. By the way, Kimberly Clark, I think, is the one that kind of founded this idea, and I love watching her anti-hauls. Her anti-hauls are hilarious. But I just think it's a great idea because we're always flooded with recommendations and all these products that we should be buying, and sometimes it's just nice to hear maybe you don't need this product. So I love watching anti-hauls. I love watching product regret videos, which I just posted one of those recently as well, and I'll link that above. I just think it's really nice to have a balance. A lot of us have very large collections at this point, and it's refreshing to hear, you know, the other side of the coin sometimes. So not everything is a must-have. There are things that you can pass on. There's so many products being released constantly now in the beauty community that if you're trying to keep up with everything, it's just impossible. I mean, especially if you're shopping drugstore and high-end and indie brands, after a while it's just, I mean, your collection would be massive if you were trying to purchase every new item. So these are all the products that I've seen recently that I'm like, I'm not gonna buy them, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. So let's start out with a new palette. This is from Too Faced, and I'm gonna try to put pictures of everything that I can find a picture for. There's one that in particular I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find a photo for, but this is the Peanut Butter and Honey palette from Too Faced. It retails for $36. It's one of their tin palettes that come in a smaller packaging. They're about that big. And I never picked up the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. I'm not planning to pick up this one either. I feel like I like the quality of the shadows in the smaller packaging, in the tin packaging, but I have a couple of them, and I just feel like the colors in this particular palette I have repeatedly throughout my collection and a lot of other palettes, and my palette collection is getting very large. So I'm getting extremely picky with what I purchase now to add to my eyeshadow collection because I really am running out of space. I'm being very, very selective in the things that I purchase now for eyeshadow palettes because I just don't have enough room to keep growing that category. And this is one that I was like, it's beautiful. It's probably a good quality eyeshadow palette, but I have a lot of eyeshadows very similar to these, and there was nothing special that stood out to me on this eyeshadow palette, so I'm definitely going to be passing on that guy. So let's keep going with the eyeshadow palette trend because I have a few eyeshadow palettes to talk about. So the next ones are another kind of smaller eyeshadow palettes, and it's these guys here from Smashbox. So I think there's 7 different palettes. I cannot remember now, but there are quite a few different palettes in this collection. These are called the Cover Shot palettes. They are about that big. They're pretty small, and they're $29. So I feel like the price for the amount of shadow you're getting is pretty high. And I'm just not a fan of these palettes, you guys. I feel like they're kind of a mixed as far as quality. I've swatched a lot of these because we carry most of them in my store, but not all of them. I think there's just one that we don't carry, which is the Ablaze palette, I believe. But yeah, as far as the quality, I feel like they're kind of mixed. Some of them swatch really beautifully. Now, of course, I don't own any of them, so I've not tried them on my eyes, but some of them swatch really beautifully and other ones are very dry and patchy. So I think it kind of depends on the palette, and most of the palettes, it depends on the individual shadow in the palette. So overall, I feel like the quality is hit or miss, and I don't know, I don't feel like they're worth the $29 at all. There are some benefits of having a smaller size palette like this, very similar in size to the Urban Decay Naked Basic palettes. They're great for travel, I believe, but I don't know, you guys. I feel like the quality just is not there with these palettes, and that is the reason that I'm going to be passing on these ones. Sorry if I'm squinting a little bit today. I feel like my lights are super bright right in my eyes, so if I'm squinting a little bit, that is why. So yeah, I'll definitely be passing on those palettes. Next up, another palette that kind of surprised me that I'm not interested in is from Lorac, and it's part of the Pro collection. And I own all 3 of the Mega Pro palettes and all 3 of the Pro, like the standard Pro palettes, but I'm not gonna be buying this one. This is the Lorac I Love Brunch Pro palette, and it looks like it's smaller than the Mega Pros but larger than the regular Pros. So it looks like there are 16 eyeshadows in this palette. It retails for $44, and if it is, and it is part of the Pro formula, which it is my favorite formula for eyeshadows. I love the Lorac Pro eyeshadows. I think they are amazing quality, very blendable, very pigmented. They do have fallout, but I don't mind that. I can work with it because I just think that they blend like a dream. But the reason I'm not getting this palette is the colors are just not my style. They're colors that I'm not going to wear. There are a lot of like muted tones. Now they're not quite the same as the pastel colors like from the Pastel Goth palette. There's a couple pastels in there it looks like, but overall it's just kind of muted eyeshadows, and I don't feel like that's something I'm going to wear very often. Usually for eyeshadows, if it's a muted color like that, I find that they look a little chalky or dusty on the eye. So I don't know. I have not played with this in store yet. I have not touched this palette at all. So it's definitely one of those things, if I play with it in store, I might feel differently about it, but just looking at pictures online of the color selection, I was not blown away, and I think I am gonna pass on this particular palette as well. One more eyeshadow palette that I wanted to talk about. This one I'm not sure if I can find a photo for, so if I find one, I will insert it. If not, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. This is the new collaboration between Jaclyn Hill and Morphe. I don't believe they've released any photos yet, but just from what I've seen as far as sneak peeks of swatches and the hype behind it, I'm definitely going to be passing on this eyeshadow palette. So I never actually did pick up the original collaboration that Jaclyn did with Morphe. That one, it was more like, she picked out her favorite individual Morphe shadows and they created a palette based on that. This one, I heard she actually came up with these shades on her own. So they're not permanent Morphe shades, they're actually shades that she has created. The reason I'm passing on this palette, and by the way, I don't know the price that it's gonna be either. I could not find anywhere where they're gonna price it, but Morphe in general is a pretty affordable brand. But the reason I'm not interested in this palette, several things. I'm kind of over the hype behind all of these limited edition palettes coming out. And it's not just Jaclyn Hill and it's not just Morphe, but in general, I feel like recently a lot of companies have been trying to create like a false scarcity on their palettes by claiming it's limited edition and then taking it away for a little while and bringing it back so that people feel like they have to run out and get it, because if they don't, the quantities are limited and they're gonna miss out on it. And then they bring it back permanently. And for those of us who invested in it, when it was limited edition, having it come back is kind of like, oh, it loses the appeal a little bit. It makes it less special, and it kind of feels like companies are lying to us. So I have been a little bit rubbed the wrong way by all of this marketing. I feel like a lot of us, I've heard a lot of other YouTubers talking about this as well, and I just feel like it's a really shady way to do business. I do feel like Jaclyn Hill has been involved in quite a few of these limited edition releases that come back. I also feel like Morphe does this quite often with their eyeshadows as well. So I'm just not buying into it this time around. I'm kind of about it, and it's really just because I feel like these companies need to stop doing it. Obviously, we all know what's going on at this point, and I feel like people are less and less buying into it, but it's still, I feel like it's just a really shady way to do business. And so I'm not going to be supporting this particular collaboration. All right, let's talk about another item that I feel like is very gimmicky and that I'm not going to be buying into, and that is the silicone sponge. Now, there are a lot of these silicone sponges on the market. I found some selling on eBay for as low as 99 cents, but I feel like they range in price depending on where you buy it and who it's made by, from anywhere from like $1 all the way up to like $25. But this is something I'm definitely not going to be buying. I feel like it's a terrible, terrible idea. I really don't get the point of using a silicone sponge. Sponges are meant to be absorbent, and using a sponge like a beauty blender or something will help to disperse your makeup evenly, but a silicone sponge just doesn't make sense. I feel like it's going to be very streaky. It's going to be very unblended. I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense to me, and I've seen a lot of reviews and I find it to be kind of funny and a little bit gimmicky, so I'm definitely not going to be investing in any silicone sponges, so that's something I'm definitely going to be passing on as well. And then the last item that I'm definitely not going to be buying is this guy here from Anastasia. This is the lip palette that she is releasing. It might already be launched. It's $48 retail. It actually does look like a good quality lip palette. It's just the reason I'm not purchasing this particular item is just since I don't like lip products in potted form. I prefer my lip products to be in a bullet. I think it's a great idea if you are a makeup artist and you need something compact to have a lot of lip color options for your clients. But other than that, I think most of us who are just using the makeup on ourselves, the lip palettes are just not as functional. So I don't prefer it in this type of format. So I'm not going to be purchasing this one. If we do end up getting it in the store, in my store, I would love to use it on clients. I think that would be a great idea to bring over for a client to have a wide selection of lip products for like a CMO or something like that. But in general, it's not something I would use. So I'm definitely not going to be purchasing it. So those are all the products I wanted to share with you guys today in this anti-haul. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave those down below for me. And if you want to see more videos like this from me in the future, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and I will definitely make some more for you. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.